I've done my homework and I know my child needs a multisensory instructional approach. The problem is, there's no one in my area who does this. Can my child really get multisensory instruction through an online service provider? I'm Jenny Sherson, ex-special educator turned dyslexia interventionist. It wasn't so long ago that I, too, was overwhelmed by balanced literacy versus structured literacy, education speak, and everything in between. Fast forward after many, many hours of self-driven education, and you'll see I've built a thriving dyslexia practice helping students from age 6 to 18. My specialties? Working with a quote-unquote difficult, almost always 2E, student, and breaking down the complexities of dyslexia into everyday language strategies and action steps. This is a topic that comes up frequently in online groups and chats. And admittedly, when I was going through my first training, the associate level training through the Orton Gillingham Academy, I could not wrap my brain around how multisensory instruction could happen anywhere but in person. Ironic, I know, as my practice is now 100% online, but at that time, I only understood what multisensory instruction meant at a surface level. So, what is multisensory instruction and can it be done online? Those of you who have followed me for a while know I did an episode last year on this, episode 16, Multisensory Instruction. What is it? But for those of you who are newer listeners, let me give you a brief breakdown. In its purest form, multisensory instruction simultaneously ties in the visual, auditory, and kinesthetic senses. It's also known as VAK or VAKT, VAKT. During multisensory instruction, a student is using all the pathways in the brain at the same time. They see, hear through vocalization, and write a letter, word, or phrase as they learn to read. They are using their eyes, their ears, their voice, and their bodies throughout a drill or task. Each sense influences and supports the other. Traditionally, when people think of multisensory instruction, the first thing that comes to mind is kids writing in a sand tray or forming letters out of Play-Doh. It doesn't sound very conducive to an online setting, does it? But if we go back to what multisensory is at its core, visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and tactile, it's entirely possible. Some of the ways this can be done are through the use of digital letter tiles, interactive online games, skywriting, and the use of digital drawing tools. And don't forget typing. Typing can be very multisensory. So, for example, during the auditory drill in an OG session, the instructor provides the student with a sound, the student repeats the sound, and then all of the learned letters or letter patterns while simultaneously writing or typing them. All the components of VAKT are used, repeating the sound, auditory, typing or writing all the letter patterns is visual, kinesthetic, and tactile. I use typing, writing on paper, and writing on a digital whiteboard with my students. Writing and writing in cursive is known to activate the brain at a deeper level than typing, but I have some students who struggle with the physical act of writing. By allowing them to type, I've kept all the pieces of VAKT intact during our sessions. Let's look at another example. Sorting is an in-person multisensory task that is often used for reviewing and solidifying a concept. Let's take the graphemes AI and AY. Both are vowel team spellings for long A, but they're used differently. AI can't be used at the end of a word, but AY can. To help a child recognize the pattern differences in usage, we may give them a stack of cards with AI and AY words on them. We'll ask them to read the word on the card and then put the cards into one of two piles, a pile for AI and a pile for AY. This same task can be done online. I often use a program called WordWall to quickly create word sorting games, but sometimes I just use a stack of digital sticky notes on a digital whiteboard. My student is still reading the words in isolation, visual and auditory, and kinesthetically sorting them, clicking and dragging with a mouse. The principles of VAKT are still in use. Does multisensory look different online? It can. Can you provide multisensory instruction online with fidelity? You absolutely can. If you have any further questions about multisensory instruction or online services, please feel free to sneak into my inbox. I'd also love your input. What would you like to hear from me in the future? Is there a topic I haven't covered yet you really want to learn more about? Or do you have a pressing need and you're really not sure how to handle it or move forward? Send me a DM on Instagram or drop me an email at jenny@literacyuntangled.com. That's JENNIE at literacyuntangled.com. I can't wait to hear from you. Until next time, bye-bye. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Literacy Untangled. If you loved this episode as much as I did, head on over and rate and subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you want to continue the conversation or share your takeaways, head on over to our Instagram at Literacy Untangled and comment on your favorite part. I can't wait to hang out with you again soon. Bye.